Hello, everybody, and welcome to Britball with the Breens. I first must apologise for no advertising of this. I'm not long back from Florida, and I've been extremely busy this week with work and stuff. So we've kind of rushed this together. As you'll see, as the power rankings have just come out online, because I only did them last night, and hopefully we'll push through this. I've got a few things to go through tonight. Unfortunately, we don't have a play of the week this week because I just didn't have time to look at them. But Luke, thanks, Craig. Yeah, we're back in town. Chris has recovered from semi-recovered from his knee surgery, so he's back online now, which I think you've been away for a while, have you?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't. There wasn't a show last week because there was only one game that was a moved game, but the week before that I wasn't able to. Unfortunately, I was in a fair amount of pain. I think it's probably fair to say because I was 1 week removed from a surgery, and I just was not up for it. So I apologise for that. For missing that week.
Yeah. So what we've got a guest again. We've not managed to advertise it, so we've managed to pull this man in last minute. He's always a friend of the show and likes to help out. So, Mr. Stephen Rains is going to join us. Here he is. Hi, Steve. How are you?
Hi there. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
We caught Steve right in the middle of his prep for the weekend, so he was already in his chair.
Yeah.
I believe you've had quite a nice week, have you? I've seen some of your photos online.
We had sports ball for BU, Bournemouth University yesterday, and the team just did amazingly well at sports ball. We got 4 guys got university colours, 2 guys got club colours. We won the social media award with our team there. I got coach of the year, which was really a special award for me to receive that from the university for the reasons that firstly the team had to put me forward, and for me that's them recognizing the work of all the coaching staff by putting me forward for that, and then actually winning it. That's against cross sport award, so it's not just an American football coach of the year, it's the coach of the year for the university, and I'm really honoured to have received that in my first year as a university head coach, so all good. And then the cherry on the top, we won the Bournemouth University Bucks Team of the Year award as well, which is an amazing achievement for the team. So
yeah, that's great. That sounds amazing. I think it's good because I've been to a couple of these sports things when I was at uni years ago, and they're huge. Like it's for everything. So
yeah,
for your American football to be recognised, that is a really solid thing.
Yeah, well, the last time it was held, which was like 3 years ago, I think there was one person from American football was actually invited. Last night we had 3 massive tables, massive eruption every time somebody from the American football team was mentioned. And for some reason the boys are also very keen on the netball team, but hey, we won't go into that.
Massive drink spill as well, I would guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's great to hear. It's nice to see that the NFL is having an impact on the British game, and then it's having an impact on the unis. And while we're on that conversation, before I answer Daniel's questions here, I'd just like to share this with you. First of all, Steve, I've just noticed that you've got a USF Bulls thing in the background, and I was visiting the USF Bull in South Florida the other day. So
were you? Yeah. I've been there. I've been there twice. I've spent time with them, and that was back when Charlie Strong was the head coach, and he was great. We actually got the opportunity to be on the sideline for one of the games. Yeah, really accommodating. Let us look at film, all sorts of stuff. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I was lucky enough as well to stand in the 50-yard line at Raymond James Stadium as well. So
yeah,
someone had ruined their pitch with an artist had been on their field and the stage had set up and it had ruined their field. So they were allowing people on the tours onto the field,
really,
up to the point where the field was damaged and
Right.
nowhere near their logo. So
right, okay.
it was absolutely boiling. I don't know how they play games there, but in August, September time, roasting.
Yeah.
But what I want to share with you on the topic of American football is obviously, just share my screen here, is this. So this has obviously been huge news this week. I'm not sure this is classed as breaking news. I'll put breaking up news in the next bit. But obviously, this is massive news for British American football, with the NFL Academy going to Loughborough Uni or Loughborough College. But one thing I did notice is they put all the job adverts up. I think it was today or yesterday, and it's including all the positional coaches' jobs, and the salaries are pretty substantial, for the positional jobs. I mean, the head coach job obviously says competitive because they want to know they're getting the right person at the right level with the right experience, and they never do that. And there's like NFL Academy manager up to 40 grand, offensive coordinators 36 to 40 grand for the coordinators jobs. There's loads of stuff here. There is one that's like the overall, you're doing partnerships and everything, and it's serious cash. But it's interesting to see them put up the whole host of jobs here, and I think this just shows how far everything's come. Now, I would say that this is probably, for folk in the UK, if you ever wanted to coach at college in the US or further than that, I think this is honestly the biggest opportunity you have to start a career coaching with a chance of going over there, that's ever come to the UK. I don't think that's an overstatement. But it's very interesting to see that they're going after a huge range of jobs there, and I think there'll be plenty of coaches in the UK looking at these. Right, just let me have a look at this. So what I've done is I'll let you talk about what you're wanting to talk about. So I'll stop sharing my screen for a minute. So this is literally just came into conversation in the last, I would say, about an hour between Steve. So this will be a breaking news segment, which I honestly can't chime in about because I have not a clue. So I'll try and let these two guys kind of go over it and see if they can and make sense of it for everybody, before I kind of go back onto our usual stuff. So guys, you want to explain what this is?
Okay, do you want me to lead off on it, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, my understanding of it is what you explained to me about 10, 15
Okay.
minutes ago. So,
Okay, so I'll try and make this as straightforward as possible, but it's a really important thing for all of the senior league, BAFA league contact teams. If you have players on your squad that are not of British nationality. So I think that people are fairly clear, I think, right, that you have to have an international transfer card if you're bringing in a player that's played in Europe, for example, say in Germany. Just like our guys who go from here to Germany have to have an ITC, international transfer card, in order to transfer from BAFA to their new federation in Europe. And then when they come back, they have to be ITC'd back again if they're going to play again in this country. So that's quite straightforward. Okay. The issue that has come up, and it led to me asking BAFA a question midweek, is where for US and Canadian citizens, they have to have an international transfer card transfer, regardless of whether they've played in teams affiliated to IFAF in the States. So if they've played high school, college, professional in the States, and they're going to come and play in an IFAF league, which BAFA is an IFAF league, they have to have an international transfer card transfer from Football USA. And that's an IFAF regulation agreement with both the USA and Canada, that any citizen moving into an IFAF team has to have an ITC from them. Now, if the person has already transferred, say, to a European team, then the ITC would be with the European country. But if they haven't, then just the fact that they are US or Canadian, they need an ITC. So the example is a player comes, and we'll use the example of, no, I won't use an example. A player comes and plays in a Bucks team in this country. They don't need an ITC, right? Because Bucks is not part of IFAF football. So they can come and play at university, fine. Okay. Then they want to play for a BAFA team. Okay. They basically go through the registration process, and they pass the registration process in terms of the residency requirement, which was what caused Guy Kersey all the problems back in the day, right? Because he was trying to bring in people before their visa started. Because they passed the residency because they've got a student visa, right? The student visa allows them not to be resident for 6 months, so they can register. So they've been registered. What's been overlooked is the fact that being a US citizen, they require an ITC because of the IFAF regulation. And sadly, that's not been done at all. So I asked the question midweek. There's been quite a lot of to-ing and fro-in negotiations with IFAF and the insurers. Because, I mean, I'll be honest, I know people are going to say, oh, well, you didn't want to play against Americans. Yeah, that's not the case. I'm just making sure that everyone's protected insurance-wise. Because that was the big thing with the Guy Kersey situation. It was insurance that killed it, not people, making a fuss about who's got Americans, who doesn't. It was, not wanting people to play and give the insurance company, if someone's seriously hurt, a loophole to get out of paying, right? So I asked the question. There's been discussions now with IFAF and with the insurance company, and BAFA are going to write to all teams today to say that they must, basically they're going to call an amnesty on it. So although people have played who are not registered properly in games so far this season, they've agreed with IFAF to call an amnesty on that, but they're giving a very short window for people to put stuff right. So there's going to be guidance coming out from BAFA today, and it's going to tell you that you've got to get on and do this ITC stuff. By the way, in case somebody looks at the regulations for the ITCs from Europe, for example, you can self-declare if you've not previously been involved in football. So you don't need a transfer from the other federation. But you can't do that with the US because of this special agreement that IFAF have made with the US and Canada. It has to be done through the people in America and through the people in Canada. So you're going to get the advice today that you need to get hold of an ITC form, right? And if you can't find one, I'm going to put it on my Facebook page, right? Because last time I tried, the link on the BAFA page was broken, right? And it's not easy to find. So I'm going to put the ITC form up on my BAFA page. Feel free to download it and use it, okay? And then BAFA are going to give you instructions. They will either ask you to get those filled in and sent to Gary Marshall, or get them filled in and send them to registrations. But they're giving you till 10 p.m. Sunday night to get this stuff done, right? In order to be included in the amnesty. So your players will be able to play on Sunday covered by the amnesty. Their aim is to get them all properly covered by fast tracking the ITCs during the week, so that the following week people will be properly registered.
Right.
I mean, there will be people that will be, I'm sure, hugely critical of BAFA for this, right? And the answer is yes, they should have been on top of it. But in their defence, the only thing I would say is that I'm really clear on all of those regulations, simply because I dealt with the Guy Kersey situation and Leicester, where we needed to be all over the transfer process and the eligibility situation, and that's why I was aware of it, and that's why I raised the question when something triggered the question that and I asked the question, and the answer was not what I was expecting it to be. I was expecting the answer to be, yeah, it's all covered.
Is there? I'm gonna pop these up. There's a few questions popped in. Actually, Pete Jones saying, "Why'd you ask?" I don't know if you knew of a player on your team or someone else's team that's happened, but I'm guessing you knew something that wasn't right or something, or thought you were trying to cover someone. Did you?
Yeah, no, I mean, basically, I was talking to somebody who's involved in the process, and they said they hadn't been busy, and I thought, well,
You should be.
they must have been busy. So then, and to answer Pete's question, yeah, I did ask about a particular name just to see whether that sort of move from the university. I wasn't going to use the Aztecs as an example, but it is an example. But it's not the only team, so don't think I'm on their case, right? I asked the question about an individual there. The answer was no ITC, right? And that rang the alarm bell. That's when I asked the question of BAFA Reg, is this registrations, has this been covered some other way? And the answer was no, it's not been covered any other way. It's actually not been covered. And so they've done a lot of quick investigation and realized that it's affecting far more than one team.
Yeah.
Right. And like I said, people can say, "Oh, yeah, you were checking up to see because you don't want to play the Americans."
Like this guy.
Yeah. We're gonna play against the Americans, and that's it. We knew that from the beginning of the season. What I was more concerned about was actually twofold. If anyone's going to criticize me, they actually should thank me, because BAFA have thanked me for the simple reason that if one of their players who's in this situation, or one of my players who plays against them, gets injured as a result of contact with somebody who's not, if you like, properly registered, it's a loophole that the insurance company could use to get out of it. Now it's been brought to their attention and they've agreed to cover it for this weekend. Everybody's safe. Everyone's insured. And that was my only concern.
And this guy here, wrong way. This guy here will tell you all about loopholes because his insurance. Oh, Steve's disappeared on us.
Yeah, well, my insurance, when I sent them my letter about my knee, the doctor wrote I had an ACL rupture, and they wrote back to me saying we're not paying out because it doesn't say complete tear. And my doctor was less than impressed when he had to rewrite it. I'm just going to take this one, Tom. I'm currently seeking answers to this question as well. I believe it's just anyone, but I think there's meant to be BAFA, an email from BAFA coming out today.
Yeah, Craig's got the same question. Is that only applicable to players playing this year, or if they've been playing for a couple of years? I'm guessing it's everybody it's come across, is it? Even if they've been playing here for a few years. Oh, Steve, you're on mute. You pressed your button again.
You've knocked the button again.
Okay, am I back?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I dropped out. The situation is if the person is a US citizen. Now, I have asked another question, which is that if and neither I or BAFA at the moment know the answer, but they're looking at it. All right. So if somebody has been here, say an EU citizen before Brexit, and they're resident here, and do they still need, to self-declare if they've not been involved in football in Europe? I think the answer probably will be yes. They still need to self-declare ITC, and if they're American, they will still need an ITC. I think that will be the answer, but I'm not clear on that. But it needs to be answered because the insurance issue is the issue.
Yeah, and you're correct. Daniel's correct here. It is a short window, but Yeah.
So
it's pretty-
Britball with the Breens has absolutely peaked because even we've managed to get on the bricks at train. So there we go. We've
Yeah.
hit a new level here. And it's one thing I discussed with you, Steve, when we spoke about this. Is like you think you'd think going forward, right? That there'd be some sort of situation where you obviously have to select your nationality when you're going through it. Going through the BAFA registration process, you think at some point, and I don't know how easy this would be to add. So again, I don't think it's me just throwing mud. It's maybe a solution as opposed to a criticism. Perhaps something on the registration that when you select a nationality outside of the UK, it says you will need to complete this form, C-Link, complete this, and then your registration can be complete. Just so that way you're automatically being pushed to do what is required to get
there should be an ITC step in the registration process.
Yeah.
Which asks the question: is an ITC needed? If yes, is it self-declaration? Is it actual ITC? Has it been done? Yes, no. Now, what I do know is that if you've got an ITC in process, like we transferred in a guy who's Portuguese, who played previously in Portugal. While his ITC was being processed, his registration was on hold. So, they've got that in the system already, that if an ITC is in process, the registration is held until the ITC is complete.
Yeah. Well, this is going to be my thing. My next kind of follow up to it is, the point was raised. This is a ridiculously small window to get this done. Assuming that clubs get the email, let's say by 8 p.m. tonight, or let's say 10 p.m. It's effectively 2 days to get this done, right? Now, my question is, realistically, what's going to be the outcome if, because there is likely to be quite a high quantity of these, because that's what's been flagged up, if we get to the game next week, do players start getting suspended if the process gets held up? And that's kind of...
Yeah, I think in fairness to them, they're working to avoid that. So my understanding is that, they've had discussions with IFAF. I'm assuming that's included Football USA. And an ITC, Nathan, is an international transfer card. So it's if you're coming from abroad and you're going to play here, you have to have an ITC. So, I think they're trying to avoid that, Chris, and so I imagine that they've set up a fast track process to get them done. Because I know when we worked on the whole issue of residency, it was literally, non-stop. The registrations team and myself spent a lot of time on that, getting that sorted out in a short space of time, and it still wasn't short enough for some people, but it was as quick as we could do it.
Because you could just see it. Like, I know I'm a massive just general cynic, not a BAFA one intentionally, but you could just see it, two teams coming up against each other, and one of the teams' approvals have gone through and the other one hasn't, and shit just hitting the fan in a whole new level.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I've seen some people ask the question, what's BAFA insurance? It's worth nothing. Okay, so let's just be clear on this, that in terms of replacing your earnings, right, BAFA insurance doesn't do that. It's not designed to do that. Okay, it's designed to cover you for loss of limb, loss of life, that sort of stuff. Okay, and so you might not think it's worth as much as it should be, but it is part of what your fees pay for, and it does cover you. More to the point, it covers the people you're playing against as well. Now, I would always say if someone's self-employed and getting an injury at football is going to maybe put them out of work, you should have your own insurance on top of that. But you'll pay a lot more for that than the money you pay for BAFA insurance, which is a very small part of your registration fee. The rest of the money goes elsewhere. It's basically basic cover for the most serious things that can happen to you in a game.
which is it's just like life assurance at your work, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well,
Covers you
obviously,
for the most
you know,
serious stuff, and that's it.
thanks for obviously taking us through that, because you explained it to me and it kind of made things quite clear, and you know, raised my blood pressure a little bit, and then it came back down once you spoke to me, so it's all good.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of people were probably worried about, what's the consequence for me or for us? And I get that, I think the thing is to respond to what BAFA put out, and do that as quickly as you can.
Yeah, Stu's saying here it's about £30 to £40 a month, and Stu's got a really dangerous job, so it must be. I'm just winding him up. But yeah, the thing is it's not that expensive. I've got the cover as well. I've had it for years. I just get a Aviva insurance that covers me in case I break bones and stuff like that, and I'm off work. So it's not that expensive. If you're a bit older, it's expensive, I'm afraid. I found that first time I got the insurance, I was like 23, and then the second time I got it, I was 31, and then all of a sudden it was like double the price. But that's just part of that, unfortunately.
You've just said it as you get older and 31 in the same sentence, and I can feel the hatred of people watching going.
I know there's a lot of folk.
Hey, listen, Alder's down here in the bottom box, right? but I don't play, so basically, when I took teams into Europe, we always insisted that players got their own insurance, travel insurance that covered American football, simply because it's expensive if something happens, and it costs some time off work. So.
Yeah, especially for self-employed. Right, thanks for that, Steve. Thanks for covering that, guys. If you've got any more questions, I think someone will be put up on Sport Tank about it.
Can I just say that I've just tried to put the IFAF form on my Facebook page, and IFAF don't allow. Facebook don't allow me to add files to a post. I can add files to a message, and so if anyone needs one, just direct message me and I'll ping you back.
Steve might be able to post it up on the page.
Yeah, I'll send it. I'll send it to Steve. I've sent it to Chris already. I'll send it to Steve, and he might be able to post it up.
Yeah, that's great.
I would like to go back to one comment. I guess the honest answer to Daniel is I'm not really sure Tebs is ever okay. So difficult one to define there.
The thing is with these is that, so a few weeks ago I picked Hereford, and I was the only person that picked Hereford, and everyone in the group was like, madman. But Hereford won, and I was just sitting there with a smug face on. But the thing is Division 2 in particular, purely from doing the power rankings point of view, Division 2 is changing every single week. It's a nightmare. Like teams that you think, oh, they're up the top there, and then they get run close, or the next team comes in, and from nowhere, Surge last week, everyone was like, oh, Surge will walk over that division, and then Lee Miners come up and draw with them. So honestly, it's really hard to. You'll see my power rankings this week, and I know fine well one team is going to come after me majorly. But the thing
every week,
yeah. But to be honest, like there's this. We've done them the way we're doing them, and we justify why we're doing them, but we don't have time to go through them just now. So Pete Jones is asking if you can email him one, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll put it on a DM to you, Pete.
So what we'll do is I'll go on to our normal stuff resumes. So I was like, I'd say we're not really BAFA bashers on here, but I was very considering putting their logo in here for the reffing situation the last couple of weeks. Obviously, we've told out a few times on this show that before the season even started, we knew this was going to be a problem because Chris used to be a ref. So he knew that.
I never got that far. I did my training, just so nobody can come after me and say, no, I was doing my training. But it's not even just that. It's just I know how many officials were available, for example, in Scotland. And I knew that the condensing of that schedule was going to put unbelievable and really unfortunately unbelievable pressure on BAFRA to man or to staff, games, that it just wasn't going to be possible for them to do. And I keep emphasizing this, but I don't want people going after BAFRA for this, because they're the ones that are being thrown under the bus here, right? They do a fantastic job, and it's one of the issues. And it's an interesting one we should speak about, because once again, we've got 2 games that are cancelled this week. Now, somebody did ask the question saying, can teams referee their own games? And this is true. You can use level 1 coaches, which brings me to an interesting point about this thing that's been put up on the BAFCA website this week about having to pay £40 to do a self-refereeing course. Now, I don't want to throw anything out there that sounds too wild, but at the same token, is this not creating a shortage to then create a demand?
Okay, I can actually help a little bit with this, as much as anyone can help with it, in terms of giving you a little bit of background. So when I was the ops director, we knew that even with the longer period of time for the schedule, there might be the odd game that was not going to get covered. So I developed with BAFRA the self-officiating guidelines, which are now available from BAFRA for people that are going to get involved in self-officiating. And the basic chat that I had with Jim Briggs at the time was around, okay, it's not ideal, but what we need to do is put out guidelines. They won't have all the nuances that a trained referee would have, but to do the basic stuff with safety being the primary purpose of the guidelines, to cover the stuff that keeps people safe. Okay, BAFCA have never been in favor of it, and they weren't in favor of it at that point, saying coaches shouldn't be asked to do this. Now, you can say yes, that's a fact, or no, it's not, that should or should not coaches be asked to do it. The bottom line is, when you've got a shortage of referees, if you want football, who else are you going to turn to? And that was the argument at the time, that it had to be the coaches, and that BAFCA rightly was saying, being a level 1 coach doesn't qualify you to referee. And right, it doesn't, but it gives you some understanding of football, and hopefully coaches have some understanding of the rules. So it's the best you've got in those circumstances.
Yeah.
The reason I think the logo should be put in the box is that okay, I'm old and I'm grouchy, and when I saw the schedule come out this year, the plan for the schedule condensed into that short number of weeks with all of the time off for national program, etc., I wrote to the BAFA board and to the competition management and said, hey, look, I've got a little bit of experience with this. It's not going to work. You're going to have a whole lot of trouble with this. And I basically got a message back from the very top saying it's not helpful when people who are not involved get involved. So in other words,
but surely it is helpful, right?
Mind your own business. Now, I did point out, hey, I'm a customer of the service. Fortunately for me, I'm a customer at the Premier level, and I'm unlikely to have the problem. But it doesn't mean I don't care about people that are struggling away in Division 2 with this situation now.
Well,
and Division 1.
But my thing is, right, so there's a couple of 2 points to this. Sorry, Sean, I'll just to jump in. But the first thing is with regards to the guidelines to self-officiating, I agree, because there's going to be times where it's necessary, right? And teams should be pushing to put people forward to train as referees, right? I mean, we have a responsibility as well. But I went back through the BAFA Facebook page, and in the last 2 years, they've not posted an advertisement for BAFRA once. 2 years. And they're not posted once. But then to charge people £40 for the privilege of refereeing their own games is scandalous.
But it's not a requirement, Chris.
Well,
So,
that's
but
what it was kind of being made out to be.
no,
That
BAFCA are offering a course, so maybe you feel more comfortable.
see,
But
that's
it's
different.
not. But it's not a requirement.
Okay,
Let's be clear. Unless somebody's changed the competition rules, which by the way are not currently available online, so maybe they have, right? So unless someone's changed the competition rules to say that, in which case you'll get games cancelled, not self-officiated, not reorganized. They'll get cancelled, and I just don't get this. That it's one of the things that gets me really animated. Is people playing this game are BAFA's only source of income. The only source of income. So you'd think they'd want to look after those people. They talk about doing the right thing at the right time. Well, the right thing at the right time would be to sort this situation out, or not to have let it happen in the first place.
but like we can understand.
That's like
But we can understand mistakes. That mistakes happen and stuff like that. And I get it. I get it happens. But like when you're saying stuff like, oh, stay in your lane or whatever, like you're being told, like people said this condensed schedule was going to create problems. Now you look at my conference as an example. That my team is in, and I'm not speaking on behalf of my team or any of the teams in the conference. I'm purely speaking from myself. Okay. At the moment, 33% of our games have had officials. 33%. It's terrible. Like, how can that continue? I know a lot of coaches, right? And to be quite frank, and this includes myself, and I did a lot of the BAFRA training. I wouldn't trust me over a BAFRA officials, not in a long way. They know so much more than I do. I want them at every single game. Now, I understand there's got to be some, lenience, but it's just, I find it extremely difficult because we said a lot of people said this would happen, and when I said it happened, I got called an uninformed keyboard warrior.
Yeah.
And the thing that was thrown my way was, that 95% of the games get covered. Well, our conference is currently sitting at 33%. So that's a bloody massive drop, right?
I tell you something now. BAFA should be really grateful to BAFRA.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
right now, BAFRA are the finger in the dike of a breakaway league. Because I honestly believe some teams would just say, what's the point? Let's just go and form our own league. Now, I'll be honest, if they're self-officiating now in BAFA, they may say, we'll go and self-officiate outside BAFA and save ourselves a whole lot of money. Remember what I said before? The only source of income for BAFA are the people that play the game.
Mm-hmm.
So they could be throwing away revenue, right? Because they're not paying attention to this situation.
Yeah, well, I actually seen an interesting comment by someone, and if they're watching, then shout out who it is. But they were saying, well, surely then you should prioritize Division 2 games for referees because all the Division 1 and Prem teams have more coaches who can self-officiate. And I thought to myself, in one sense, I think that's actually like it's not bad logic in real terms, but at the same time, you obviously want the best level of your sport to have officials.
There is also the flip side that, let's face it, if there's going to be an on-field Barney, Division 2 is 100% where it's going to happen.
yeah. Well, I don't know, competition levels, like people are like proper into the being an athlete and all that in the Prem, and you're always on edge because you're playing at the top level. So you never know. But yeah, Division 2 would be more fun, Barney. I give you that for sure. Serious question: are there certain concentrations of refs around the country? Because I generally can't remember the last time we had a reffing issue. I would think so.
Yeah, there
Scotland,
is.
Scotland's a bit more spread out than some of the.
Not really. It's not really when you think
Well,
about it.
yeah, but there are hubs of cities in England that are much closer than where we
Yeah.
are.
Aye, but I mean, in the concentration of officials isn't more spread out in Scotland. It's quite concentrated. But it's like, but as I say, and Coach, what you're saying is right. BAFRA is plugging the leaks everywhere, and like I know of people that are doing so many games to try and make sure it's met. And I hate when I see people try to throw mud at Bafra as a result, because it's not them. And but ultimately, as I say, when it comes down to it, would I want me officiating a game, or would I want a Bafra official? And that answer 100 times out of 100 is a Bafra official. And that's including the fact that I did a lot of the training and sat the exam twice and that. I'd still want a Bafra official 100 times out of 100 over myself. And I consider myself quite rules savvy because I was doing that training. Now, when I first went into it, I like to consider myself as kind of rules savvy, and I realized I knew squat. So we're asking guys up and down the country to officiate games that, with the greatest respect in the world, don't have the first clue. And it's not their fault, and it's not Bafra's fault, but there's always going to be an extent to it. But this condensed season has made it so much worse. And once again, we had 3 cancellations last week, and we've got 2 this week. And it's frustrating because it makes the game look bad. Because ultimately I'm watching film of, teams' coaches, and I'm looking at things and going, wow, how is that not being called? But at the same time, they don't know. It's not even the rules aspect of it so much as they don't know where they're supposed to look. What exactly are you looking for?
I think the other thing is, you going back to your earlier point, Chris, about who would you rather have. If you get a bad call from a neutral referee, you get upset. But if you get a bad call from somebody you feel has got an interest in the other team, I can imagine that would make people even more incensed.
I can vouch for that one.
Yeah.
I got written up for that.
Right. So, and that's the problem, that as much as some people criticize Bafra, I would 100% of the time I'm with you. 100% of the time I'd rather have them than not have them. Because it's part of the game, and it's like when I hear people going on about referees, I just like coaches to sort of just sit, take a quick look in the mirror, and ask yourself the question: how many mistakes in this game did I make? Right, and the answer will be not none. That's for sure. Right, so if these guys make mistakes, hey, they're learning all the time, just like we're learning all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, is ultimately for from the standpoint, certainly of the Bafra refs that I know, they take it very seriously. They work extremely hard to make this game good. Both on the field and off it. So guys that are that committed and that dedicated to doing that, I want them on the field refereeing my games. On Daniel's point about we need an official on this chat, Bafra won't speak to us because of complications. That's all I'm gonna say.
I did start the qualification like you, Chris, and so I've still got my Bafra card from about 1989 or something like that, but I haven't obviously kept it up, so that's the best I can do for you.
Both.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I never got onto the field because I ruptured my ACL. But I still did all the off field.
Yeah, I did one university game.
Depends who you ask, Daniel.
Some of them are.
But yeah, so it's unfortunate, but we digress anyway. But yeah.
So again, thanks for that chat, and it covers a couple of things. We'll kind of move on purely because if we don't, I'm going to get an angry knock on the door if I don't finish at a certain time, and she's going to kick my butt. So, we'll move on to our normal stuff. So this is a game of the week this week. Now, there was a couple. The Cats versus the Stallions was up there as a choice. The Gateshead Senators versus oh wait a minute, that one's cancelled. There was, what was the other one, Chris? There was one more.
It was East Essex Sabres and the Southeast Squadron.
No, I mean, what was the other choice? What was the other choice?
Oh yeah, the Solent Thrashers, I think.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that was one of our choices too.
So, but this is the one we've went for, and it's quite intriguing because me and Chris both have different opinions on this, and Steve, I'm sure you might have a different opinion on this. So what I'll do is I'll be kind and I'll let Chris go first, he can explain what he thinks, and then we'll chime in afterwards. So, Chris, go ahead. What you think?
Yeah, and the reason I think this is the game of the week, right? Let's look at a couple of things. I've seen the Rams post a thing saying that they're 0-23 all time against the Pirates, which is not a strong start for my case, right? The Pirates are the favourites in this game, despite what people's predictions were suggesting. I definitely seen a couple of Edinburgh Wolves suggesting 50-0 wins for the Rams. I feel that's more of a gripe than anything else. But look, this is not the same Yorkshire Rams team we've seen in 2019. I don't even think this is the team we've seen last year. Their head coach, Coach Shaw, was our coach of the year last year. He went and did a good job at Leeds Beckett Carnegie this year.
They've got the American quarterback from Doncaster.
Is that what it is? Right.
Because
when I watched the highlights of the Glasgow game, I was thinking there's some absolute rifles being thrown there. So that explains a lot. But East Kilbride are still the favourites. And, they beat the Northumberland Vikings. And, before we started the season, the Vikings and the Pirates were your top two teams for this division, right? They were the top two last time. They were top two this time. The Pirates came out on top. The reason I've backed the Rams this week is in the whole of, I think it was, I'll have to remember the exact numbers, but in the whole of 2019 season, they scored 120 points or something. In 2 games, they've scored 170 points, right? Yes. They played the Glasgow Tigers, who probably will be the worst team in that division at the end of the season. Yes, they played the Lancashire Wolverines, who, quite notorious for putting up points but conceding at the other end. But 80 points against the Tigers and then following that up with 90 points against the Wolverines. This offense is rolling right now. And that's what I think is going to make this a close game. I think it'll be one score either way. I don't think it's going to be the blowout that some people were dropping in the comments, but I feel like there was a lot of Pirate hate coming in. But yeah, and that's my thing as well. You're talking about running clocks as well. So 170 points in 2 games is utterly obscene. I think it's going to be a one-score game, but I think the Rams could win. The difference might be the fact that this is in East Kilbride, but I'm still sticking with the Rams.
And here's my counter argument to this. Now, you can't pick this as a draw in the picks. So it says East Kilbride Pirates, but I've actually put it down as I think it's going to be a 27-all draw. Now, my defense of East Kilbride here is their defense is a significant step up from anything the Rams have played so far. Now, understandably, there has to be a significant step up, but the secondary for the East Kilbride Pirates, some of the touchdowns I've seen the Rams score, they do that against the Pirates, it's not going to be a touchdown, it's going to be an interception. In my opinion, having played against that secondary, they will hit you as well. And one of the things I said years ago is the biggest thing I found from going from Division 2 to playing the Pirates was that even if you did make a catch, you were punished for it, right? So like in Division 2, you could catch the ball, turn around, and you'd maybe gain an extra 10 yards, you'd maybe take it to the house. You caught a ball against East Kilbride Pirates, you knew about it. And this defense is extremely athletic. Their secondary is extremely aggressive. Now, we know there are maybe 1 or 2 weaknesses in their defense that Northumberland maybe looked at and exploited in the second half. But you've also concerned a Vikings team that went over to Iceland, played against a team, put 56 points up and never scored a single point. Oh, no, did they score first? No, they never scored first. They never scored a single point in the first half. So, don't get me wrong. I think that the Rams have every chance of winning this game, but I think this is a totally different team they are playing compared to the first 2 they've played. Don't get me wrong. I think that the Rams' offense has improved, but their defense is giving up nothing. So, when we've played them in years gone past, their offense has still managed to score points, but their defense has been leaky, and you've managed to exploit it. But their defense hasn't given up a single point, and EKP have. Like, don't get me wrong, when they played against Inverclyde, it looks by the looks of it, they had their second string QB in, their starter wasn't there, and I don't know if they were rotating, how early they were rotating, or if they were at all. But you've got to, you're right, you've got to take 170 points to 0 conceded as a
It was
OG.
they conceded 20 to the
Oh, did
Lancashire
they?
Wolverines.
Oh,
Yeah,
did
yeah.
they? Sorry, that's my bad. I'm speaking rubbish. But so that's going to be an interesting thing for me is can can they score on EKP? Can they stop EKP scoring?
Yeah.
Are they really that good a defense that they'll stop EKP scoring? And that's where I would see a difference. But I said I put it down as a draw. I honestly couldn't tell you who's going to win this. I have put in the power rankings though. If the Rams go and score 30 plus on EKP, they'll probably be fighting Leicester for the number 1 spot in that rankings. Because although Leicester scored a lot of points against the Romans, I don't think the Romans are as good as EKP. So it's an interesting one totally. Steve, do you want to chime in here? Do you got any feelings on this one?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I took a look at this in the short time that I had. I took a look at this, and I totally agree. It's the game of the week. I mean, yeah, it's looking at the results so far in the division. I mean, I'd really like to know from somebody at Yorkshire Rams how you get a game with a running clock going 90-20. Yeah, how many one-play drives were there?
Ask
There must,
Chester. They went to 110.
yeah.
It was
I mean,
127 actually.
I
Oh,
mean,
was it?
there must be one play drives, or I just don't understand how that happens in a game with a running clock, to be honest.
I think an interesting thing with this as well, though, sorry to interrupt you, Steve, is if I'm not mistaken, I believe the Rams defense has scored in both games.
I'm not sure. I can't remember. I did
I'm
watch
pretty
the
sure they have.
highlights, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. Anyway, looking at the results from the two teams, I think it's going to be a really close game, and I decided on the basis of East Kilbride being at home that they might just nick it.
Yeah, I think one thing that I noticed there is you said we all remember not me to AKP. Honestly, like having spoke to Sam from Titans, he always said try to travel north of the border is hell. He said like you could be playing as well as you are, and you go up there and something just happens. It's just such a weird thing to go. So yeah, running clock only with 35 points ruling in the second half. Yeah, so they could rank up. They could rack up 50 points in the first half, and then just everyone's knackered, and that's it. Here we go. Yeah, running clock starts in the second half.
Yeah.
Not sure its score, but it is interesting anyway. It's definitely a game of the week. So, well, that's the game of the week there. So we're split.
This is an interesting thing from Aaron actually saying it's a big domino game in Division 1. You're absolutely correct, because before the season, people would have thought the Northumberland Vikings were potentially the favourites to win the division. However, if the Rams turn up and beat the Pirates, with the Pirates having already beaten the Vikings, there is the potential for the Vikings to go from potential division favourites to not even making the playoffs, and that would be nuts if you think about where they were before the season started.
Yeah, mental. Right, so that is our game of the week. Some of these games this week are probably easy picks, and we can just rattle through them. Some of them not so much we can explain. So we'll try and go through these. So the first game this week is for the Berkshire Renegades. Berkshire, oh God,
Bark.
again, every time. I don't
think of the dog. Bark, bark.
Oh, Berkshire
it's my home county, Sean. Come on.
I'm sorry. Berkshire versus East Kent Mavericks. Chris, go ahead. You can go first.
Yeah, I mean, one thing is, and I would like to put this out on record, is that when Sean did his preseason power rankings, he said the Berkshire Renegades should be near the top, and I said I wasn't convinced. I wasn't entirely sure they should even be in it to start with, but we'll wait and see, and it was not a good opening game for them. The Mavericks, obviously, they had a close game with the Sabres, who have sneaked into the power rankings this week. I think this is going to be a low-scoring, pretty mind-numbing affair all around, but I'm going to back the Mavericks to win.
Steve?
Yeah, I think it's going to be close based on the results so far, and I decided to go with the home team again, so Berkshire Renegades for me.
Yeah, well, Berkshire obviously, as Chris said, have let me down a little bit. After me thinking, well, they've had a year off. This and next, they might have recruited well, come back as their form, but yeah, they never managed to put up a single point in their first week. So I wasn't overly happy, but yeah, I'm going to stick with them this week. I think East Kent Mavericks, they beat the Squadron 20-0 or something 2 weeks ago, but I think Berkshire maybe first week back after having 2 years of no football, they'll maybe pick up some stuff and get back to it. Second game. Now this one we had Leicester v Chester last week, which was cool to say.
Nottingham. Oh no, Leicester Chester. Sorry, yeah,
Leicester Chester. So, but this week we've got the Birmingham Bulls v Leicester. Now Leicester are obviously got down 14-0. I think everybody would have been going, oh, I got text messages from a few people going, oh, check this out. And then about 15 meters later, I got, oh. So Leicester are, in my opinion, the best team in Division 1. The Rams and EKP might have something to say about that, but they showed up, decided to show up after going 14-0 down and just destroyed Chester, let them back in the game late on. But again, I don't know if they were rotating by that point or whatever. Birmingham had a good opening game. I actually thought they'd beat Nottingham in the opening game they played. Again, good showing for their first one in Division 1. But I think Leicester absolutely roll over them here, unfortunately. Steve?
Yeah, I don't think it will be a big margin because Birmingham have got a lot of tradition and they'll be fighting proudly to defend that. But I do think Leicester will be too much for them.
Chris?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same. And, Craig, you raised that. We spoke about this at length, and I spoke about it when I had Sam on previously, that the Bulls are very, very, very physical. But they're also coming up against a physical Leicester side. And I think Leicester have too much. I still expect the Bulls to put up points. But yeah, I think ultimately Leicester will overpower them in the end.
Yeah. The next one, down your neck of the woods, Bournemouth Bobcats versus South Wales Warriors. Steve,
Yeah.
I'll let you go first on this one.
Okay, well, there's some of my Bournemouth University Bobcats playing for the senior Bobcats, so I am 100% going to go with them to win this one. Although I know South Wales Warriors are a tough team and will always bring it, but I do think Bournemouth at home will do well enough to win it.
Yeah, well, Bournemouth let me down last 2 weeks ago because I actually thought they were going to sneak it against Hertfordshire, and Hertfordshire came back at them in the second half and scored 14 unanswered points. But South Wales Warriors gave Hertfordshire a really tough game in the first game, but again, it was at home. So yeah, I'm on the same side here. I think Bournemouth will win purely because they're at home here. Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I literally had to go back and double check who I picked because I'm pretty sure I swayed between both teams several times in this game. The Bobcats look like a really strong team. To be honest, all the teams in this division look quite good this year. I'm going to side with the home team. I think the Bobcats win. Bobcats win, but I think it'll be quite tight.
At least I was getting actual strange looking names wrong, not.
Well, to be fair, you just said Hertfordshire again, but we'll let it go.
The big one, Steve. I'm guessing you're picking the Aztecs here, are you?
I'm not commenting on it. No.
Yeah, I don't think. As we say, as our
What do you
rules
mean,
are,
Steve?
Yeah, as our rules are on this show, is any coaches on do not have to pick their own teams and do not have to talk about their own division. Some weeks coaches don't care. Next week's is a big
Can you let
rivalry.
can you let Tebbs know that for when Hayden's on next?
Yeah,
Just give him a gentle nudge.
yeah,
Hayden.
yeah. It's bound to be a really good game. Now, Bristol look distinctly better this year. They obviously gave the Warriors a game. They went out 2 weeks ago and won comfortably, and they're at the moment number 3 in our power rankings. And the biggest thing for me is that I'm pretty sure I actually can't remember, but I'm pretty sure you're 3 and 4 in the power rankings now. You lot. I think Bristol are at 3 and Solent are at 4. So we think they're evenly matched. I think it's going to be a really close game. I do think because you guys are traveling, I think Bristol, if they get out to lead, I think they'll win it. I think if it's kept close in the first half, maybe Solent come up in the second half, and that's where the adjustments come in. It'll be a very interesting game. I'm siding with Bristol purely because you usually have to travel. Chris?
Yeah, I mean, love both these teams this year. It's been good, and obviously Solent's win against the Olympians last week was
Craig,
not last week. Sorry, I keep forgetting we didn't have games last week. Last time out was obviously a stomping as well. I have looked at this purely from the head-to-head with the Warriors, it's a bit tough because it was literally your first Premier Division game, and they went, "Ha, London Warriors, have fun with that." But I think just going off the head-to-head, I would back Bristol with them being the home team, but I think it's going to be a great game. I was very close to choosing this as my game of the week.
Apparently, it's going to be streamed, just so people know.
Ooh. I'll be busy.
Wait. Yeah. Breaking news. Solent versus Aztecs. That's my Sunday.
So this will be one of those, because a lot of teams are finding people are posting fake links to games in all of their social media posts. But this one will actually be streamed. So.
Yeah, we've been asked for a roster for the streaming. So
nice.
Do you get the video? The Solent Thrashers. Be interesting. And the next game is bound to be interesting as well. Now, another team that I ranked really highly was Cambridgeshire. The first week they came out, I was like, what's going on? Apparently, they were missing their QB. And then they won 56-0 last 2 weeks ago against Sussex. They have some serious playmakers by the looks of their highlights. But they're playing the Wembley Stallions, who are 3-0 and haven't conceded a single point. So if this comes down to the fact of it's a defensive battle, Wembley are going to win this game. If Cambridgeshire come out shooting, then I think it's going to be Cambridgeshire. But I'm actually going to side with. Actually, I think I said Wembley. Let me check. Yeah, I'm going to side with Wembley here. I think they're going to think their defense. If it gives Cambridgeshire trouble on offense, then I think they'll have too much. Steve?
Yeah, I'm committed to a prediction that Cambridge are going to be the team to get promoted this year from this section, from the Division 1 South, and it's based on an absolute irrefutable logic that the Olympians beat the Kent Exiles 3-4 seasons ago and got promoted. The Kent Exiles beat us 3 seasons ago and got promoted. We beat Cambridgeshire 2 seasons ago and got promoted. So it's obvious, statistics don't lie. Cambridgeshire will beat somebody and get promoted this year because they were the losing ones the last time. So on that basis, Cambridgeshire have to win this game and get themselves back on track.
Yeah, this is my point here, Bradley. Cats score first, totally different kettle of fish. Chris?
Yeah, I mean, again, I flipped a coin. A point with this game is that if this game turns out to be closer than the EKP Rams game, I am going to get roasted by Steve because he wanted this one as the game of the week, but we disagreed and we went with the Pirates Rams. So I'm hoping this is a blowout. But the funny thing is the Stallions are the new Cats. Their offense hasn't put up that many points, but they've scored efficiently when they need to, and their defense is playing phenomenally well. I mean, 0 points in 3 games is an incredible output from the defense. I watched the highlights from the Sussex Thunder game with the Cats. Shout out to Surge World again because I love their highlights. I'm so glad they're still doing them. And yeah, they had some playmakers. I mean, that number 4 wide out is an athlete, and he is fast. So, but they don't just have the one; they have a few playmakers. So, I think this is the Stallions' toughest defensive test. For me, they're going to concede points this weekend. I can't see them getting a shutout on the Cats. Can their offense do enough to outscore the Cats in what's likely to be a tight affair? That's going to be the difference. And I've given them the benefit of the doubt in saying they will.
Yeah, certainly an interesting one. I'd say for Sussex, takes a big man to still post up highlights every week when you're giving up that score. So bravo to you, because your highlights are class, and I watch them every week. Next one, Chris won't be saying anything.
No, I can speak
But-
about the teams, but I won't be
well,
saying.
is it true Don's not there? Is he
We don't
left?
know. I don't know.
Oh, I heard rumors in the grapevine that he wasn't there anymore. I don't know if that's true or not. But Dunfermline Kings versus Aberdeen Roughnecks. Obviously, Chris doesn't like us talking about Aberdeen Roughnecks for anything. Didn't want me to put them in the power rankings or anything. So, but they are 2-0. They're going away to a team that has been beaten comfortably by teams that Aberdeen Roughnecks have already beat. And this will be an interesting game for Aberdeen purely because they're going away here. If they win here, then it sets up a really good game against Highland in a few weeks' time. So for me, I can't see past Aberdeen here. That's no bias either. I think Chris doesn't like it, but I think they're going to be too strong for Dunfermline here. Steve, do you want to pick them as well, just to hack Chris off?
But I really know how Chris feels because I love it when people predict against us, and I can go to practice and say it's us against the world. But unfortunately, Chris, it's not you against the world because I can't see past Aberdeen either. So
It's really hard to sell the underdog mentality when people back you, which is
Exactly.
as you say, as a coach's greatest weapon, Steve, isn't it? You know what I mean? When you can turn around and go, see, nobody thinks we're going to win anything this year. I mean, I've got great respect for the Kings. Their pitch. It's quite funny because despite the fact that Tom, you can just shut your hole.
Well done, Tom. Well played.
Okay, we get on, Tom. Don't start. The funny thing about the Kings pitch is that it is in Scotland, so naturally we don't get many nice weather days. But even if we got the most glorious, greatest sunshine day, that pitch in Dunfermline would still be windy as hell.
It's right on the top of a hill.
But no, we're looking forward to the challenge. We know it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a physical game again. So we're looking forward to it. But yeah, thanks for making it more difficult for me. You'll be getting the Kings fired up. You're making my life even harder as well. So I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, obviously I'm not making any sort of prediction on the game.
Yeah, well, that's Tony saying about Dawn, I'm guessing. So yeah, that sounds like it is true. The next game, interesting one, because probably, without being harsh, probably the decider of who will stay in Division 1 for these teams. They've both been bested by other teams. However, I would say that Inverclyde have put up more of a fight in their games. I actually think they're probably a little bit more physical than Glasgow are. And I do think that Inverclyde will win this one. I don't think it'll be by a load, but I think they'll win this one by a couple of scores, maybe 3 scores. Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of... right, okay. I'm kind of...
Let me check.
I mean, I'm not as convinced as you that this won't be a close game. That this will be a close game. I think the Inverclyde Goliaths are just simply put the better team here. They've looked better. They've put up points. They had a good game against the Lancashire Wolverines. They narrowly missed out there. They still managed to put up some points on the Pirates and made them really work for it. I think out of these two teams, I mean, I would say, yeah, you're right. I mean, this could be a decider as to who goes down, but not in the way that you'd imagine. I think it's more to see just if because I think Inverclyde might manage to sneak a win somewhere else. I think Glasgow are really going to struggle to win a game this year.
Yeah, Chris, how many refs is there in Scotland? 7?
I don't know the exact number anymore. No, it was more about there's enough for normally for about 3-4 crews. It just depends. But I know they're obviously, and the guys that are there are saying they're doing overtime is an understatement. Yes. They are working their arses off. So yeah, so it's unfortunate we can't get a game covered.
Steve, who are you picking?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's about as far away from me as you can get up there. But looking at the results, simply because of Inverclyde's better performance in the game where they both played same opponent. I've gone for Inverclyde.
Yeah, that's the same logic I've got with the results against Northumberland. Next game is Hull and Spartans versus Chester Romans. Now, in the day, this was a fierce rivalry, and we can definitely say something about this one, Chris, is because Halton cost Chester the number 1 seed the year that we were the number 1 seed. So they drew against Chester when nobody else managed to get close to them. So have times changed? I'll let you go first.
Yeah, is the short answer. Halton came out and they got that win against Shropshire, and I was so pleased for them because it was a tough year, the COVID year. They had to drop out. I was so pleased to see them come out
Not
and
as
win
pleased
the
as
opening
me.
game. You know what I mean? Well, yeah, but I was so happy for them. And there was always going to be tougher games, and this is going to be one of the tougher games. Now, I will point out that the one you did discuss when Hull cost Chester the number 1 seed the year we got it up here, well, I think it was a 7-all draw. But this Romans team is different gravy just now. But it's nothing against Hull, and I just think Chester are a good team this year.
Yeah, well, Craig seems to agree with you. Chester by 40. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with you. Although I do think Halton's defense must be decent, or better this year at least. But I think after last, like 2 weeks ago against Leicester, I think Romans will be out to prove a point, just to say we are, well, maybe not Leicester's level yet, but we're better than everybody else. So I think they'll come out and I think they'll put up a fair number of points in Halton. Again, the other side of it, if you're going to look at that, is that how much did Leicester batter Chester's players? Are they all healthy, etc., etc.? I would assume they're fine. Their squad looks massive, and I seen one of their players the other week on Facebook, and I was like, bloody hell, that guy's a unit. So I would guess that they're going to be fine and that they'll walk away with this one. Steve?
Yeah, again, based on common opponents, Chester have done better, and I think their performance against Leicester, certainly, I think justifies the fact that I'm going with Chester on this.
The guy obviously knows who I'm talking about. Yeah, it's gonna be hopefully it'll be a good game and it doesn't go out of hand really quickly. But yeah, it's Chester won easy there. This might be a cool game because Ipswich haven't played yet, and I've seen someone comment and saying that this will be a big game online. Can't remember who it was. There you go, Chester squadrons deep. Yeah, it looks massive online. Ipswich versus Norwich. Steve, do you want to go first in this one?
Yeah, well, this is like the East Anglia rivalry, isn't it?
Is this why it was built up?
Probably. Didn't it used to be called the Tractor Bowl? I might be wrong on that. Yeah,
Aaron Tractor Derby. There we go. Luke.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah. So so it's an intense rivalry between the two teams. Obviously, the fact that Norwich did so well previously last year, I think it was, and I don't know. I think for me, Norwich will edge this. So for me, it's a Norwich win.
Yeah, did they?
Much as I like the Cardinals.
Yeah, I didn't even know. When was this? I didn't even see this result online. Oh, I didn't know they'd lost to the Glads. My bad. Totally didn't know that. Missed that
Yeah, I
result.
mean, League Republic made it 10-0, by the way.
So yeah, I
League,
didn't even
League
see that result.
League Republic says it was 10-0 Gladiators
Right.
over Cardinals, but
Well, that's like that makes my choice here quite interesting because Norwich is interesting. Norwich beat Ouse Valley, and it looked like a good win first game of their season. Then after Ouse Valley shut out Colchester, Colchester then put up 20-odd points on Norwich but still lost. And then now we've got Colchester beat Ipswich, but Ipswich are at home. I mean, you just try to fry my brain here, but I think that in the end of the day, I think it's going to be a close game in that case. But I think Norwich will take this one. Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I backed Ipswich against the Glads, and they let me down. So yeah, I mean, I think Norwich will win this game. I think they've kind of got themselves going now. It's just going to be about working out the kinks.
Yeah, OVA. Oh, thank you for that. I will watch that. That'll give me a good insight.
Oh, I was like, they're not playing OVE, but I get what you're saying now. My bad.
Next game, Kent Exiles versus London Warriors. Chris, you can go first on this one.
Yeah, I mean, there's not too much to say on it. I mean,
guy. This guy has the best.
Yeah, we need to get in touch because you know
Yeah.
so much stuff, and I absolutely love it every time you come up. So I need to drop a message to you at some point. Yeah, Kent Exiles, London Warriors. It's no disrespect to suggest that the Warriors should run out comfortable winners here. Big props to the Exiles. The last, I think I said that we beat the Olympians, was it 28-0 in the one, or by 24 points, the one by 23 or 21. I was devastated, but I think the Warriors should win this one.
Steve?
Yeah, two teams in our division. Obviously, we've played the Warriors. We're yet to play the Exiles. The one thing I would say about the Warriors is that in the first game against us, they were just relentless, pretty much error-free. The only thing that makes you a little uneasy about this is how well the Exiles did against the Warriors in the non-competitive season last year. And, there's something in that. Is there something in that? Bottom line, probably not. Probably the Warrior campaign continues, and then they face some team from Southampton the following week, and they'll probably do the same to us. So, yeah.
Nah,
yeah, it's one of those, and I think the interesting thing, and I meant to raise this, is I was following the Warriors Blitz game on Instagram because it was on their Instagram story. It was almost a full play-by-play, which I've noticed to do for all their games. So when I'm not busy myself, I'm definitely going to be doing that from now on because they're a great watch. But they were struggling against the Blitz at half-time. And then they came out in the second half and they just blew them away. And I think that's the power of the Warriors. I think you might see, early on, if Kent can hold them early, it could be quite cagey, quite tight up until halftime, maybe. And then
did the NFL Academy have a game last week? Because in our game against the Warriors, the people from the Academy arrived at halftime because on their way back from Germany. So, so
that'd be interesting.
They got a coaching and playing boost at halftime. Not that they needed it, but
it's like a reload. Just another bus pulls up at halftime. When you come, lads,
we're doing it. What the hell? Craig, I was as surprised as anyone, but when I went onto their Instagram, they do tend to do play-by-play on it. It is almost play-by-play, so certainly worth checking out.
Yeah, I don't think this one will be close. Like, I do think, as you're saying, Kent Exiles, everyone was watching thinking, wait a minute, they're up 10-0. And then they just poked the bear, and bear came back to bite. So I don't think London will let that happen this time. They must make some serious adjustments at halftime. That's all I'm saying. Next game, another London v London. This one, London Hornets versus London Blitz B. Now, the London Hornets, I'd heard at the start of the season that they recruited quite well and they'd had some improvements. They went out in week one and beat the Cats, so it was kind of maybe this is true. Blitz B, been competitive in all their games, but I think London Hornets take this one. Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I think the I appreciate it, Aaron. I did. Yeah, I mean, the Blitz B came in and played Division 1 opponents all last year, and they put in a really good account of themselves. So I've been quite surprised to see them slip to that sort of a 1-3 start. But the Hornets looked good to start the season, and I think they win this game.
Chris reckons Hornets by a lot. Steve?
Yeah,
Hey, it's Chris.
we played the Hornets in the playoffs twice, and they're a tough team, and I've heard they're always stronger at home as well. So we were fortunate we had them come down to Southampton twice, but I've heard they're stronger at home. So I think London Hornets on this one.
Yeah, 3 London Hornets there. Another London game. This one, this one won't be close because this was the first game of the season, was it? London Blitz blew them away 43-0 or something. And the only reason that this week I jumped Solent above the Blitz is obviously Solent beat the Blitz, and everyone gave me shite for not putting them above the Blitz. But I was like, well, Blitz maybe walked in thinking, no, this is all hunky dory, and got beat. But the similar results between the Olympians would suggest that no, that's not the case. So I don't see anything but a big Blitz victory here. London Olympians are struggling. I did see this week that they managed to recruit some guy from European leagues.
From an ex-Blitz player, albeit.
Oh, is it?
Mm.
So be interesting.
Running back, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm never sure how much of a difference one player can make, but you never know. It might allow them to actually score some points, and give the Blitz a bit of a scare early on. But the Blitz should walk away with this one. Steve,
you can't do it twice, Aaron.
Yeah. Obviously, I've seen both teams this year, and the Olympians are not having a whole lot of luck because when they came to us, I think they lost their starting quarterback at Kent in the game down there, which obviously would have affected that result potentially. Then they came to us and they had their guy that had previously played GFL, who I think he'd gone to Romania, and there was some problem, so he was back. Hope there was an ITC in that case, by the way, just saying. And early on in the first quarter, he got an injury which potentially could be season ending. So I think quarterback, the guy that stepped up, did a good job, but I think they are struggling there, and I do think the London Blitz will win this.
Chris?
Yeah, I mean it's the London Blitz all the way for me. I'm concerned for the Olympians at this point.
Yeah. Next one, Merseyside Nighthawks versus Manchester Titans. Chris, let you go first on this one.
Yeah, I mean, interestingly, sort of, we're kind of looking at, we looked at the result for Merseyside against the Edinburgh Wolves and thought, wow, 44-0. That's pretty bad from a Merseyside point of view. And then they played Tamworth and it was 22-2, and you're like, well, that's unexpected. But I think we've kind of almost taken the view on it that it's a Tamworth's passing offense is poor this year. It looked really bad against the Titans, and maybe that was the difference. Maybe the Wolves were able to get that passing game up and running, and Tamworth weren't able to against the Nighthawks. I don't think it's going to matter here. The Titans look, they look imperious. They look like they're too strong. You can see this being a big Titans victory.
Yeah, I can definitely see that way, and that's the reason why Tamworth are so low in my power rankings. Quite frankly, they were both Merseyside were home games for Merseyside, and the Wolves put up double the points. So you can't stay above a team if that's the case, in my opinion. But yeah, I think a big Manchester Titans win is the only outcome here. Steve?
Yeah, Manchester seem to me to be the team in the Northern Prem right now, and they put in some really good performances. I don't see any way that they don't continue in this game.
Yeah. The next one, start of the season, you'd have probably thought this would be an interesting game. You'd have thought Nottingham ran close by Northants, Shropshire did run Leicester close, etc. And then obviously Halton came week one. All this shite came my way before week one, and we know what happened. But I think this is an interesting one because Nottingham had a good win against the Bulls. I think they'll pick up some speed now and start start putting up some points, and I think I think they'll win this one fairly comfortably against Shropshire. So it's a Nottingham win for me. Steve?
Yeah, I think Nottingham have played the powerful teams or one of the powerful teams in that division, and that was, you take that result out of it. I think the other results suggest that Nottingham will win this one.
Chris?
Yeah, I mean, certainly the thing is you, as you alluded to, you took a lot of flack for leaving Shropshire out of your top 10 in the Division 1 power rankings, but the reality for the Revolution just now is they need to find a win somewhere, otherwise they could be staying in relegation down the barrel of relegation at the moment. So, and I don't think this is the week to do it. The defense has given up a fair amount of points. The Caesars look a lot more free scoring. And yeah, I mean, they might get a chance to score some points because the Bulls certainly managed to. But yeah, I think the Caesars are going to win.
Yeah. The next one's another one down your neck of the woods, kind of, Steve.
Yeah.
Oxford Saints, why Chris Warren's probably in listening. Are they undefeated just now?
Don't think so.
Chris, are you
Or have they
undefeated just now? Or
have they only played one game?
I think they played two.
They played 2 games?
Just
I think they played two.
He's not telling us anything.
Oxford are 1-0-1.
Oh, it's a draw.
Yes.
They drew.
Yeah,
No,
they drew.
draw, yeah.
They drew with South Wales 7-7.
That's the one.
Yeah, and they beat Portsmouth Dreadnoughts 19-12.
Yes.
So this is a rematch.
I would like to take this one first because I was unable to go on the week, and Chris was very upset with me because I complimented them in my what we learned this week, and he said, and then you didn't even go on the show the week that you said something nice about us. But I did predict them to win that game, and I will be doing exactly the same again. I'm backing the Oxford Saints to win this one too.
Steve?
Yeah, I think it will be a close game because it was close in the first meeting, but I do think Oxford would maybe just squeak it. I think it's going to be close though.
We said last year, we said no red zone turnovers and Oxford will be just fine. So hopefully it continues and they'll beat Portsmouth and that'll be the end of that. So I'm going for an Oxford win here as well. The next game, yikes. A rematch of a 71-0 drubbing, I think it was. I think it was the Wolves' biggest ever win in their Premiership history. They look good just now, but again, Sandwell are struggling. Edinburgh go down there to take care of business. It might not be 70 points again, but I reckon it's probably going to be above 40. So I can only see Edinburgh winning this one. Chris?
Yeah, I mean, what's happening to Sandwell this year is awful, and I really hope they recover from it, but it's not going to happen this week.
Steve?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we played Sandwell in the 2019 final. This is not that team for sure. And so sadly, I think from Sandwell's point of view, and happily from Edinburgh's point of view, Edinburgh will win this comfortably.
Yeah, Chris?
You've already asked me. You said to me first. I would like to point out this. I believe this was in response to the red zone turnovers. See, we do talk sense sometimes, Chris. No red zone turnovers, you'll be just fine.
So, is this upset alert?
No.
No.
I think the thing is that I think the Titans had a tough time breaking down the Giants early on. And then kind of just extended away from them, kind of much like we described the Warriors. They kind of just really sort of got a grip of the match and kind of took it over from there. I'm not sure. I mean, the Tamworth defense is still very good, right? So the Tamworth defense is still very good. The running game is still good, and I think it'll be enough to get them over the line.
Yeah, my only thing here is that they struggled at Merseyside. This is a longer trip. Manchester didn't exactly race off in the early stages of this game. I don't know. Like I don't think Sheffield will win this one. I think Tamworth will win it. But if there is a chance of an upset in the Prem this week, I think this is your game. I think that if Sheffield come out and just ball out the first half and make it really hard on Tamworth to score, if it comes down to needing to score a couple of score late, then might be an interesting one. Steve?
Yeah, I think it's really difficult to judge Sheffield right now on the basis that the only people they've played is the Titans, because I think, and I think you agree, that the Titans are a step above in this division. So, I think they're going to be tough to play at home for sure. Tamworth, I think the issue for them will be, how is their confidence? Because it's probably taken, they've been the team up there for a while, and it's probably taken a bit of a knock with the two results so far this season. So I think a lot depends on, how they've prepped for this and how well they can bring their players up to play the game. I think with their coaching staff, they'll probably just about get the job done. And I think Tamworth just.
Yeah, be interesting to watch that one. Sussex Thunder versus Essex Spartans. Now, as we said, Sussex have had their problems this season. Just going out and competing every week, by the looks of it, this season might be a thing for them. Essex Spartans, really good start to the season. Opening week, I think Essex will have too much here. Their run game's powerful. Their defense is pretty solid. So I see Sussex struggling here and Essex taking the win. Steve?
Yeah, I mean, Essex have lost to two of the top teams. And Sussex, like you say, unfortunately, they're struggling and they've lost worse to two of the top teams. And I know there's going to be a bit of feeling in this game, because I understand that some of the Sussex players have transferred to Essex, so there's some familiar faces will be coming back in a different coloured uniform on Sunday. So I think it will be an interesting affair
Feisty.
in that. Yeah, feisty in that respect. But I do think that Essex will take the win away with them.
Chris?
So does that make them the Sussex Sunder or something? Does it?
Yeah.
Spunder maybe. Yeah, I mean.
You have to be careful with that, Chris. I wondered where you were going.
You can see the cogs ticking just to make sure I didn't say anything too stupid. I mean, Essex have looked, they look like they belong. They've played well in their games. They got the win against the Blitz B. Was it their last game out? Was it not a heartbreaker as well? I'm pretty sure they were.
They were up against the Cats, were they not? And the Cats came back in the second half and
is that what it was? But I think the Spartans have too much. I think Sussex are probably at that point where they're maybe looking towards being in Division 2 next year, and maybe try to just build a bit of confidence. I mean, they moved the ball at times well against the Cats, but obviously not enough to score. But the Spartans look like a good team, so I would expect them to get it done.
Yeah, it's a great shame for Ian Ellis in his last season, but I honestly don't think they're going to get this done.
No. Swindon Storm versus Northants Knights. Now I've misspelt the Knights, which don't go on at me. Newts.
Used to happen all the time when I was at the Farnham Knights. So
it's all right. I spelt Nighthawks with a K last time out and got roasted.
Yeah, so this is a game where I think the Northants Knights should win. However, they obviously got a bit of a scare from Hereford last week or 2 weeks ago. After looking pretty solid in the first two games and blowing out their opponents, Hereford obviously came in with a different, maybe different style or just a better team, and they've given them a game, and they've only won it by 6 points at home. Now Swindon, I don't think are as good. I think they'll go over there and beat Swindon, but again, it's a away trip. Does that have an impact on some of the players you're taking across? Don't know, but I'm picking the Knights for this one. Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I think judging by certainly the comments that were posted by Coach Gums about the game against the Stampede, it sounded like the Knights just didn't really play their best game, and Hereford came to play, kind of the combination of the two things, but they still got it done. And it is one of those, the sign of a good team's a team that can win even when they're not playing well. But I think they've had a bit of time, to go back and correct that. So I think they should be firing on all cylinders for this game.
Yeah, Steve.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know a whole lot about either of these teams, and because I didn't quite get to finish my prep before the show, I'm struggling a little bit. In fact, which division is this in?
It's like is it South
SFC 2, no, not West. There's not a Northwest.
Northeast.
There's not a Northeast either.
I don't know. I can't remember the name.
It's SFC 2. I want to say North.
Oh, it's North. Yeah, it's North. Because I was looking for it, and SFC2, I couldn't find them. Sorry, guys. I really.
No, sorry.
So yeah, just quickly looking at the results. Let's see. Yeah, Northants. Northants are top 3-0 at the moment. So, yeah, Swindon I know are a good organisation, but I think with Northants having made the start they are, I think they'll keep the momentum going, and I think they'll win this one.
Yeah. Chris, did you already give yours? Did you?
Yeah.
Last game, likely to be a blowout. So I think Bristol can probably be one team that will go to me in the power rankings this week. Why are we not number one? And they probably could be. Northants are very lucky to be staying where they are. I thought that I can't really demote them for being 3-0, and because Bristol never had a game, I thought, well, we'll leave them where they are just now. But Bristol could probably have a shout with being the number one team in the second division at the moment. Their nearest rivals only just scraped past Cornwall last week, and I mean Bristol beat them 38-0. So it'll certainly be. This one won't be close. Bristol should hammer them, and that should really be the end of that. Steve?
Yeah, to be honest, any way you look at the table, the current results, you can't reasonably, I think, see past Bristol for this one, and possibly almost certainly by a fairly big score, I think.
Chris?
Yeah, I mean, we've spoke about the Trojans. It's been really tough for them. I think, as you say, the Apache might feel kind of aggrieved not to be at the top of the power rankings. But I think, again, the problem is who have they played? They're arguably the top team in that division. I mean, you certainly wouldn't be criticised for saying that. And the second place team in that division looks to be the Somerset Wyverns. So at very least, let's see them play the Wyverns first. But even then, I'm just not as convinced. But I don't think it's an insult to the Apache. I think it's more to do with the fact that the teams around them just aren't as good.
Yeah, that's the way I've seen it anyway. We've talked about the postponed games. No refs for these games, unfortunately. As normal, Steve and the gang will be on for Game Day Live. Send your hashtags in so they can get your scores. We can update everything. Lastly, this week, though, I do have a comment here for you, Steve, from our father. Do you remember the Bristol Packers?
I do. Yeah, I do.
And someone underneath has said I played with the Packers.
Yeah, that's Mike Woolnough. He was a Seahawk. That was the old adult Seahawks, not the current Seahawk Academy. Yeah, you can tell that because Mike's got a grey beard. So.
Yeah, so our dad tends to know a lot about the old teams and all that when he played back in the day.
Yeah,
so.
Bristol Packers, good team back in the day. And tough team, always a tough team. So
yeah, well, the last thing here, because I'm going to have to shoot, but thanks very much for joining us last minute, Steve. It's been It's a white rhino's jacket in the background.
Yeah, up there. Oh, sorry, up there. White
Yeah.
Rhino's jacket. Yeah.
It's been great having you on
Still
again.
fits. If you believe that, you'll believe anything. If you've seen pictures of me in those days, I look like the 118 man. You know, with the dark moustache and the hat that was too big and very thin. So yeah, no, it doesn't fit.
Well, it's been great having you on. Thanks for coming on such a last minute. We'll let you go finish off your prep. But thanks very much for joining us. And guys,
You're welcome. Always.
Again, send in your plays of the week this week. After Sunday, we'll get back on that. I say we've just simply haven't had enough time this week, and we will catch you all again next week. Catch you later.
Look out for your ITC email.
Yeah. Share this video if you want. Share it out to everyone so they can see what we're talking about, and it might actually help it get spread. Okay, catch you later, guys. Thanks very much.